Welcome to this Saturday's travel and history tip. Today, we will be going to the wonderful state of South Dakota. And many times people ask me, what is a good place to go on vacation? And I always recommend Southwest South Dakota. Let me tell you a little bit about South Dakota real quick. It's the Mount Rushmore state. It's the 40th state. It's 17th in land area and 46th in population. Claiming the entire region for France in 1743, La Vérendrye and his two sons were the first Europeans to explore this region. These men buried a lead plate near the convergence of the Bad and Missouri rivers on March 30th, 1743 to stake their claim. 60 years later, the land was part of the 1803 Louisiana Purchase. In 1913, school children found the centuries-old, once well-hidden plate protruding from the ground. I bet that was exciting. A state historical marker indicates this place. The plate is in the historical collection of the South Dakota Heritage Center in Pierre. South Dakota was named for the Dakota, which is the Sioux people. Dakota means allies, referring to their confederation of 7 tribes, including the Dakota, Lakota, and Dakota tribes. Decades of skirmishes between tribesmen, fur traders, homesteaders, soldiers, miners, and cattle ranchers reshaped the character of the state. The 1858 Yankton Sioux Treaty ceded most of present-day South Dakota to the U.S. In 1861, South Dakota, North Dakota, parts of Montana, and Wyoming were established as the Dakota Territory. Statehood came in November of 1889. 1/4 of the state's land lies in 9 Indian reservations encompassing 5 counties. Camping there one year, this sign was at the end of the road, Frontier Peril. In 1876, 4 pioneers making hay in the nearby field were killed and scalped by Sioux Indians. Sidney Custer Stage Route. And here's an amazing sign on the Oglala Sioux tribe land just south of the Badlands, which is also a former bombing range. And of course, when we think of this area, this region, we think of the buffaloes. Let's go to a totally different part of South Dakota, to Adams, Homestead, and Nature Preserve in southeast South Dakota, where you can be in Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota just in a matter of a few seconds. The Adams Homestead is 1,500 acres and has 10 miles of hiking and biking trails, and we hiked around 5 miles that day on some of the 5.5 miles of primitive grass trails. Because of COVID, many of the structures were closed, but we could walk around the property. The homestead is located in the Missouri River Basin, and it was established in 1872 by Stephen Searles Adams. It includes the family's farmhouse, a historic barn, a log cabin, the Lamont Country School, and Stavanger Lutheran Church. I wanted to point out how this was all a simpler time, but not necessarily an easier time. These people worked hard in a different way than many of us work hard today. Most of the things that filled their life have nothing to do with our lives today. Actually, most of the things that fill our life today had nothing to do with their life. They are part of history, and we need to learn it. For over 100 years, 3 generations of the Stephen Searles James Adams family worked, nurtured, and respected this land. It is the wish of Maud and Mary Adams to share this natural bounty with all people. This is a contrast between then and now, how property was kept in families for generations. We don't see that any longer. We found this awesome little tic-tac-toe game, and it ended up being a cat game. This house was built in 1865 by Top-Heeled Brousseau, who came to Dakota Territory as an original homesteader in 1862. And homesteading was when the United States would give people chunks of land, and it depended on which state it was, how much you got, if you promised to live there for a certain length of time, approximately 5 years, and that you would farm it, and then the land would become yours. And this is how most of the West was settled. Sonny's Acres is dedicated to Stephen Sonny Adams III, son of Stephen S. Adams II and wife Edna, and brother of Maud and Mary Adams. And we know that those are the two who donated this property. Now, this is where life changes and where we can contrast this boy's life with maybe your son or daughter's life. As a child, Sonny's days were filled with farm chores, school activities, trips with the family, and visitors to their home. Most of these events were described in the diaries he wrote when he was 9, 10, and 11 years old. Well, we do go visit friends, and friends come to visit us, and we do have school, but I don't know about those farm chores. Maybe we just have chores around the house. But but the framework is the same in family life, but maybe not the type of work. And here's a picture of their barn, and they had some geese and some little burros. And here's the schoolhouse. The Lamont Country School was built in 1908. The original cost of construction was $1,400. Now there's a big difference. We would have to add at least 3 more zeros to build a school today, and maybe even 4. The school was relocated to this site and renovated in 1991. Hannah Adams was a teacher in the local one-room McCook Schoolhouse in the Dakota Territory for 14 years. And this is the Shea Adams House, built in the 1880s, originally located on the banks of the Missouri River at Sioux Point, and the Missouri River was only a few paces away. The Shea home family became a popular gathering place for nearby residents. In the late 1920s, the meandering river channel threatened to swallow up the structure. In 1929, Adams saved the building by jacking it up on dollies and towing it with a team of horses to its present location. I bet that was quite a sight. And it's interesting, as you study the Missouri River, you learn how this river did change course. We have gone to many historical spots around and along the river and have heard of this exact same thing, where there were forts or structures that were placed in one area, or even people were buried, and now the river has overtaken those spots. Joseph Shea arrived from Canada around 1857 at Sioux Point, where the Missouri and the Big Sioux Rivers meet. There he built this house and married Julia Lamont Shea, whose family homesteaded Jefferson. And here is the Stavanger Lutheran Church. It was originally located 11 miles north of Platte, South Dakota in Brule County. The first service was held on March 20th, 1902. It's a beautiful structure. And here are a few sights of the pond and the birding blinds. I always thought it was funny to be bird watching in a blind. Seems kind of funny. Let us place there, carved high, as close to heaven as we can, the words of our leaders, their faces, to show posterity what manner of men they were. Then breathe a prayer that these records will endure until the wind and rain alone shall wear them away. Gutzon Borglum. He was the man who originally designed Mount Rushmore. In this critical time in our history, places like this have been threatened. He probably had this not exactly in the back of his mind, but somehow that some people would want to tear this down. We cannot tear down our history. We must learn from it and grow from it. The National Park Service Organic Act states the fundamental purpose of said parks, monuments, and reservations, which purpose is to convey the scenery and the natural and historic objects and the wildlife therein, and to provide for the enjoyment of the same in such a manner and by such means will leave them unimpaired for the enjoyment of future generations. August 25th, 1916. Just over 100 years later, these places are being threatened. We need to stand up for our history. We build our future. We honor our heroes, not tear down our past. President Donald Trump. American history. Learn it. Love it. Appreciate it. With only approximately 40 days until Election Day, we want to tell you about the big sale we're having on our Get America Great Again t-shirt. The different styles, and our special is $10 each. This will help support our ministry and help get the word out and to get America great again. Thank you.